Now this is time for the meditation. Sitting in a comfortable position, relax your mind and your body. Recollecting Buddha's virtues, Dhamma and the Sangha. Offering ourselves to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, to the teachers, to practice this meditation. A practice of a meditation begins with the quietening the mind. And one of the effective ways to quieten the mind is the chanting. So we have just finished our chanting. With this, we have purified our physical actions, verbal speech, and mental proliferations. Our body, speech, and mind have been purified. It allows us to meditate much easier and concentrate much faster. The practice of a sila, the precepts, helps to restrain the physical and verbal activities. In our day-to-day life, we work from outside to inside. By observing the sila is basically purifying ourselves from outside in. When we observe the sila, we become mindful of our physical actions and speech that we talk. And that helps to shape the mind. Whereas in the practice is coming out from inside out. Knowing this mind, knowing its activities and how it influences and how it is being influenced, impacted. When we recognize ability to aware of these activities, then we also able to maintain our activities and engagement with the worldly matters, worldly affairs. And our physical action and verbal actions also becomes purified. As the mind settles, then we begin to realize mind is one thing and then the breath is another. Mind is one thing, body is another. And this is how one practice gradually develops from a basic coarse stage to the deeper. As your mind settled, you'll be able to distinguish between a mind and a body. Mind is one thing, body is another. With that, we are able to let go of the concept that I am. And further on, as your mind settles and become more aware, able to see that it doesn't matter whether the mind or whether the object that we are observing It is true that we are seeing it, but that's not the reality. It changes. So understanding the three characteristics, it is changing. The moment when we can't accept or comprehend on that change that brings the suffering, and understanding that nothing remains the same. So non-self, the anatta. And knowing that both interacts together to arise one to another. So with that, we are able to see things arises, remains, and vanishes away. Even the mind that arises remains with the object for some time, and eventually it vanishes away within a few moments of a flicking moment. And as we look at closely on the fact that it arises and it passes away, that brings different mental attainments. And further on, we only see the dissolution of these activities, these objects, these mental states, even our awareness. When we see that destruction or dissolution of things, and understanding the impermanence of these things, that can cause a fear in us. Fear of why should I do, where I will be, what will I be after my death, what will I be after attaining enlightenment, what will I be, where I be, and so on. And with that, this fearfulness arises, then we got to be very careful with that. We got to be more comprehensively investigating, it's called yonisamanasikara, into that object and various objects, aspects, and understanding that in reality anything that arises is subject to change and cannot be reliable. When we see that everything is just perishable and unreliable, we have no control over it, then we see the danger in holding on to anything, even our body, to possessions, emotions, feelings, and so on. Because these are the impermanent phenomena, changing phenomena, the natural phenomena that changes. The holding on to certain things tightly, that causes the trouble, whether that story, whether the memories, whether the objects, whether anything. So seeing the danger of holding on to something, the mind becomes more stronger. And a mind gradually feels disenchantment on anything. And this is the moment, got to be very careful. Even this moment, sometimes we feel very bored, lonely, meaninglessness, or worthlessness, and disgusting of this own physical body, and seeing only things that's very and whatever we see becomes very disgusting. That why should I be holding on to, why should I be having it, and so on. So when we have this disenchantment, it also creates a profound dispassion arises into things. We began not entertaining of the world, not entertaining of our age, not entertaining of our knowledge, and not entertaining of our physical body, food, company, and so on. So it's basically mind turn away from this conditioned existence. So mind becomes very anxious and becomes lonely. When one attains that, then mind begins to think of a liberation, deliverance, wish to be free from this situation, from this state as soon as possible. And also understands that this is the reason why I should be reborning again and again in the samsara and suffering again and again. So I want to stop it. So it's called the stopping moment. So desire to mind search for the complete liberation. And become a mental state that always alert, awake, and wisely reflecting on it. So careful consideration and balanced efforts have been applied to find out the way to deliverance. The mind becomes fully concentrated. Mind is in a deeper contemplation, and that brings the wisdom. Mind becomes very steady, balanced, and unshaken by this duality of all the phenomena, and a deep equanimity arises in the mind towards all these conditioned created objects. Whatever conditioned created object, mind settles there. And this right understanding becomes firmly established at this moment. It's a conformity towards the liberation. Now, this moment, because of the true understanding, has been developed in our practice. That person's practice becomes firmly established. Beginning with the practice of a sila, firmly established. Mind is firmly steadied, balanced and unshaken, and will not return back to the entertainment of the senses, lost into the worldly life, but towards the liberation. Unshakable faith is there, and continue practices in accordance with the Eightfold Noble Path to realize the Four Noble Truth. And understanding this Four Noble Truth completely in its true nature, then one immediately experiences a peace and a freedom which is known as a Nibbana. And after attainment of that, one will carefully and mindfully reflects, reviews, and confirms. At this moment, once kilesas, defilements, been fully developed, fully abandoned, so the practice is, that's why it's not just calming the mind. It's not just finding the relaxation. It has a lot to do, a lot to comprehend. Now this could be only possible with the regular, routinely practice. So with this in mind, now let's continue practicing for some times before we end today's session.